What is the cloud? Well, a simple definition of the cloud is that it's the storage and management of information and data on remote servers rather than on-premise servers and personal computers. But realistically, what does that mean to us? Well, the first way that most people think about the cloud is they think it's just a bunch of computers, often an air-conditioned building somewhere, and they're simply just accessing this large pooled resource of servers. And it's actually not a bad way to get your initial thoughts about what the cloud is. But it's really a lot more than that. And it's these extra capabilities that really make the difference between what a cloud is and what a bunch of computers are. So here's the things that really make a difference. We call it the cloud because it also supports on-demand services. That means that you or a programmer can walk up to a computer, type in a request for some additional resources, and that request will be delivered to you immediately without having to pick up the telephone, call 10 people, and negotiate for what's going to happen next week, and then wait around for somebody to deliver resources to you. The on-demand, self-service aspect of cloud really starts to separate it from just a bunch of computers. We also have broad accessibility, which simply means that you can connect to the cloud and the services it offers through many different devices. Mobile phones, laptops, desktop computers, even IoT devices can connect directly to the cloud. We also would like to have elastic capabilities, which is really just a fancy way of saying that you have to be able to request resources and also release resources. And you have to be able to do that quickly, you have to be able to do it without a lot of phone calls, and there will probably be implications for how much money you might be charged. When you request a resource, you get charged. When you release the resource, you're no longer being charged for it. And that really plugs into the final characteristic that really distinguishes cloud, which is the idea that we have to be able to meter that consumption, monitor the consumption, report on it, and in many instances, we have to bill for that consumption as well. These are the characteristics that really define what cloud is. In addition to those 5 characteristics that help define cloud, we also describe cloud by how we deploy it. And what this means is that if you were a private company and you wanted to deploy a cloud that was just for you, just for your organization, just for your team, you would deploy a private cloud. This is intended for a single tenant, and it gives you complete control over everything that happens in that cloud. It still has the 5 characteristics that we talked about earlier. It's just owned and operated for you for the benefit of your organization. Now, not everybody wants to have a private cloud. That's why we also have public cloud. Public clouds are operated by third-party companies with the intention of supporting the needs of many different customers at the same time. So you have multiple tenants living in the same infrastructure. You also will have a pay-as-you-go model. As you consume some resources, you pay for it. As you release resources, you stop paying for it. And there's also the idea that we have hybrid clouds. And a hybrid cloud really represents an organization that's decided that they want to run some of their applications on their private cloud, some of their applications on the public cloud, and maybe they want to even move applications around from time to time. And if they do that, then they're operating a hybrid cloud. So we've talked about the definition of cloud a fair bit, but let's look at an example that will help you understand it a little bit more. And to help me do that, I'm going to imagine that you're working for the weather company. And the reason I picked the weather company is because they have a lot of custom software that they've written. And of course, they have access to a lot of information about weather conditions around the world. And it's just huge amounts of it. So imagine trying to run that kind of sophisticated system on a local computer here, and that's all you had. You might be able to run that software, but it could take you 1,000,000 years to get results because you can't do it fast enough. This is an ideal circumstance for the cloud. And the idea with the cloud is that we can really kind of scale up all the resources that we need to run that software to access that information. So imagine we simply use the cloud. We have huge amount of resources here in the cloud now. And that's going to allow me to very quickly predict the weather. And of course, it allows me to do it in a time frame where it's actually useful. And I can tell you what the weather is going to be like tomorrow because I was able to predict it overnight. Now, not all of us are going to work for the weather company. Not all of us are going to have access to huge amounts of information. Really, a lot of us are just sitting down and we're happy enough to share pictures. Or perhaps we want to just share videos of our cats. Or maybe we do have some documents that we're working on. And we want to share this information, not with just one or two people, but we realistically want to share this information with, 1,000 people, or maybe even 1,000,000 people. And so in order to do that, really the best way to do it is not to run everything on your own computer, but rather to use the cloud to help you do that. So there's all kinds of applications in the cloud. And in fact, there's one kind of set of applications called social media. And these applications are really well suited for sharing information. So you can easily post your information over here into social media. And of course, the social media applications can post out to all kinds of other people, no matter where they are. Now, you're not just going to be using social media. You're probably also going to want to do email. And so we have the ability to do email in the cloud. Or if you wanted to, you could actually do some sort of work. If you used a system like Salesforce. And you can use that to help track your sales and your customers. So there's any number of different applications that are available to you in the cloud. You can either simply use resources in the cloud that allow you to run your software faster, or you can use ready-made applications. You simply connect to, use the applications exactly as they are, and then share the information that you wanted to share. And this is how the cloud works. What does the cloud mean to you? In an everyday experience, how do you interact with the cloud? Well, it's a pretty easy story, actually. Imagine, if you will, that you wake up in the morning and you get ready to go to work and you jump in your car and you decide that what you'd like to do maybe is play a little music. So you can use a cloud-based application like Spotify or Pandora to stream music from the cloud in real time. Perhaps you're going to be encountering traffic along the way. You might want to find the best way to get to work. You'd use another cloud-based application like Waze to find out what's the fastest way to get to the office. Maybe you don't like driving and you'd rather someone else would do the driving instead. Well, you'd use another cloud-based application like Uber or Lyft to hail a ride and just jump into the back seat and enjoy the drive to the office instead. Or maybe cars aren't involved in your commute. Trains, subway, bus. There's apps for each and every one of these modes of transportation, and even applications that combine all of these and will tell you the best combination of these modes of transportation that will help get you to work. Once you arrive at work, of course, you may be using email, and in many instances these days, you'll be accessing a cloud-based service to access your corporate email account. If you're in sales, you might access Salesforce.com, and you would use the tools in Salesforce to maybe get an update on what your clients were thinking, the kinds of activities you had to plan for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. During lunch, you find a little bit of time to relax. You log into a social networking application like Facebook or Twitter to see what your friends are up to. And then later on, at the end of the day, as you get ready to go home, maybe you pull up an application like Yelp or Urban Spoon, and you start thinking about where you're going to go find something to eat. And when you arrive home and you kick up your heels, you sit back and you can stream videos from Netflix or Hulu. Every one of these applications was a cloud-based application. And there's a high degree of probability that you've encountered one or more of these applications in your own life, possibly even on a daily basis. And so what this really shows us is that the cloud is actually important into our own personal lives. It's important to our company's lives. Cloud is more than just a bunch of computers. It's really all the resources and the elasticity and the on-demand services that cloud make available. Cloud can be public or private, and cloud can be something that will help us transform our business.